part 2.
Yep.
Lack of oxygen, like we said, if we don't have adequate perfusion, or if we don't have adequate oxygenation, it's going to cause a buildup of the acidosis in our body. We're not able to breathe it off. That goes back to the respiratory acidosis or the diabetic ketoacidosis. You'll find those people in an excessive breathing rate, tachypnea almost, because they're trying to breathe off that acid. The body's natural reaction is trying to breathe it off. Yes, sir.
Why alcohol raises your pH?
Again, it'll raise your pH because it is acidic. Those sugars, the natural sugars, will boost your metabolism up a little bit. It'll make it act a little bit. It'll increase your metabolism. The increased sugars, it is acidic itself. So again, we're consuming the copious amount of the acidic product. It'll do that. It'll also raise your estrogen levels a little bit. So anything that's going to inhibit or increase muscle burning and fat absorption. So that's going to increase our acidosis as well. So alcohol is actually a pretty rough substance on the body when you have too much of it. All right, so complications of too much acid. It can be kidney stones, chronic kidney problems, kidney failure, bone disease, and delayed growth. The kidney stones occur because if we have a buildup of acids. Anybody ever had a kidney stone? Kidney stones hurt really bad, and the reason you can see why. There's a stone, which this is not to scale, obviously. There's a stone that passes into the very small space of the ureter. Okay, that stone can be made up of calcium deposits, can be made up of a uric acid buildup, and if our body's acidic for too long or too much, we have a buildup of acid. It forms into a uric acid stone, and it passes through the ureter. Some of these stones are not necessarily stones. They're not smooth. They can have rigid, hook-like claws, for lack of a better term, that protrude from these stones. They hook in and they tear. So one of your assessment findings you'll find on people that have kidney stones will be blood in the urine, difficulty urinating if you have complete blockage of the ureter itself. Okay, you're going to have very decreased urine output. Another thing you can have is urinary retention. If you're unfortunate enough to get a kidney stone in each ureter, you do have two, one that runs off of each kidney into the urinary bladder. If you have a stone that completely includes both ureters, you'd be in complete urinary retention. Okay, that means you have to pee, but you just can't. All right, so the treatment for that is you have to go to the hospital. They're going to have to do either place an emergency shunt, which is a tube that runs from the opening of your urinary tract, if you're from the tip of your urethra, a giant straw all the way in through your ureter into your bladder, and that straw will typically stay there until you're able to pass those stones. They can be in there up to 2 weeks. I had a friend one time who they put a plastic tube in each ureter. Every time he walked, he could feel it scraping. He was walking around like this. I don't want to move because the straw scraped me. It obviously wasn't in his urethra, but it was above that in his ureters, in his kidney, to his kidneys, to his bladder. Very uncomfortable. I couldn't imagine. Chronic kidney problems. It's going to cause a lot of chronic kidney problems because the increased acid is going to prevent circulation to the kidneys, causing a lot of problems there. Kidney failure. Remember, our kidneys filter our blood. So if we're running a bunch of acidic blood through the kidneys, it's going to burn up that very delicate filtration system. It's going to hurt those little nephrons. It's going to damage the loop of Henle, which processes water through our circulatory system when it goes through the kidneys. So it can really mess up your kidneys, your filtration system. Bone disease. If you're overly acidic, it can prevent the absorption of calcium, like we talked about, or it can, because it's not helping break down that calcium enough. So the treatment for acid reflux causes hypocalcemia, and not treating acid reflux causes hypocalcemia. So it's again, acid-base balance, right? It's all about the balance. 7.35 to 7.45. You have to keep it right there in the middle. Delayed growth. If you type in delayed growth into Google, you get a bunch of midget wrestling. Okay, that was not exactly rampage. It's like a bunch of rampage midgets running around, hitting each other with chairs, and the chairs are bigger than they are. I didn't feel comfortable putting that type of display in the slideshow. But the delayed growth, okay, so the over the acidity of our blood prevents calcium absorption, correct? So we all need calcium for our bones and muscles to grow, right? Remember when you're little, drink your milk, eat your greens, so you get your vitamins, your minerals, and nutrients. If our blood alcohol, or our blood is too acidic, then it's not going to allow us to absorb calcium. It's going to delay our growth. If you actually do delayed growth due to metabolic acidosis, the pictures are really kind of disturbing. I didn't want to put that in here just because it was kind of, one, they don't have any good ones because they're all old, because malnutrition now is, they either die really young in a foreign country, or it's not really that big of a problem in this part of the world where we have a Google database. But what it is it's just a bunch of people that are really sickly looking. They're like concave back, they have that kyphosis, or their arms are shorter than they should be, and they just have poor facial development. They look really weird.
I have a question.
Yes.
How long do you have to be in acidosis before you start having like delayed growth or kidney stones or things like that?
It all depends on your filtration system. So if you stay at an elevated rate for longer than, typically it's like 4 or 5 days,
Okay.
to where you start to have those formations of those clots. Your body's really good at buffering itself back out. That your pancreas will start to secrete it until it generally can't secrete it anymore. And then once your buffer system becomes compromised, that's when you start to exhibit the signs and symptoms. Does that answer your question?
It does.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
So, can a kidney stone completely make your kidneys fail to the point where you go to dialysis?
Probably not a kidney stone, but the life that you lead that leads to kidney stones will. Like excessive alcohol use or excessive dehydration will cause kidney damage. So it's lifestyle changes that destroy your kidneys, not so much the kidney stones. The kidney stones will cause so much scar tissue that you may have to undergo surgery to the ureters. So if you have chronic kidney stones all the time, that buildup of, because remember it's a smooth muscle, so if you scrape that smooth muscle and it heals, and scrape that smooth muscle and heals, eventually the scar tissue will build up so thick in those walls that it's going to close itself off. So you're going to have decreased urine output with that.
Now, wouldn't soda kind of help prevent kidney stones, since it's more of a base? I thought I've seen stuff or heard something.
The dehydration associated with kidney stones,
I'm not saying just go to soda only, but.
well, it is more of a base, but the problem is you run into your sugars, the high sugars, because there's a ton of sugar. You don't think about how much sugar is in there, but there's a ton of sugar in there. That's going to increase acidosis, and then the dehydration effect, that the caffeine, and then your metabolic reaction to the sugar. So it actually, even though it's made with water, it actually causes you to be dehydrated and causes more damage in the long run. So people who drink a lot of Mountain Dew, a lot of sweet tea, a lot of anything else that's high in sugar, it actually increases your likelihood for kidney stones. And again, if it increases your dehydration and decreases the acid-base balance in your digestive tract, it throws everything else off. So you're going to be more. It's going to increase your uric acid levels, and uric acid levels is one of the things that causes kidney stones. So does that make sense? All right, this is a picture of my daughter sleeping. Put her in respiratory acidosis. No, I'm just kidding. She fell asleep after a long day at the park. She was when you heard Young in the last video. Symptoms of respiratory acidosis include fatigue or drowsiness, becoming tired easily, confusion, our levels are off, we're not oxygenating ourselves appropriately. There is a condition if we are in kidney failure where our ammonia levels get high, very high. Occasionally we go to people who are very altered. They're able to function, but they're just not 100% ANO times 4. You'll do your sample, and it will have a medicine called glucophage. It's not glucophage. I can't recall the exact name of the medication, but it's a medicine that they mix in water, and they drink it, kind of like an emergency packet. You mix it in water, and they drink it. What it does is it's kind of like the baking soda water in the Tums. It helps neutralize the ammonia levels in their body. And what that does, it'll help with the confusion, it'll help with the drowsiness, the fatigue, the sleepiness, and the headache. So a lot of times we get people who are pre-kidney failure, who are still able to make urine and pass water before they're on dialysis. They'll get the increased ammonia levels. I wish I could remember the name of that medicine. I cannot. Any questions about that?
Now, is that why, like, say, I've seen it where someone will get called to a residence, doctor told the patient to go to the ER because they looked at their charts back and said they had high blood level. That's why they'll send them over to the ER.
That's exactly why, because it'll start to raise. You were talking about how long can you be in acidosis before you start having effects, until your ammonia levels get to where they can't be buffered out, where you can't excrete them. So a lot of times, if you start to become really acidic, you'll start to urinate more, you start to breathe heavier, your heart rate will beat to try to get rid of all that. It's when they can't compensate anymore is when the doctor, because the family will call the doctor and they're like, oh, do we have to go to the doctor for another 8 hours and sit there and load grandma on the CAT scan and do this and do that? It's really difficult. So they'll call the doctor. Grandma's not acting right. Hold on, let me look at the check. They'll realize that she has a little bit of kidney failure. Notice that she is on that medication that I can't remember. And they'll go ahead and bring her in. There may be nothing wrong with her at the time when you get there. She's ANO times 4. You know, she doesn't meet that criteria for convalescent transport, which hopefully you guys don't ever have to run into. But if you leave her there, within the next little bit, she's going to become altered. She'll become altered, she's probably going to fall asleep and be very difficult to wake up if she wakes up at all. And if that acidosis gets too high, then she'll go into cardiac arrest. So yeah, so that's exactly why. So when you get here, like, she call out again, there's nothing wrong with it, you can't just load her in. It's preventative medicine. Good question. How are we doing on time up there?
Oh, good. You're at 11 minutes.
Okay. All right. Metabolic acidosis. We have rapid and shallow breathing, confusion, fatigue, headache, sleepiness, lack of appetite, jaundice, increased heart rate, breath that smells fruity, which is a sign of diabetic ketoacidosis. Some of the research I was doing, I was researching a study on this from somewhere in England, and where it says fruity right here, it said smells like pear juice. And I was like, I've never had pear juice. I mean, I've eaten a pear, obviously, but I've never had pear juice. And then I got to think about it. Another description of diabetic ketoacidosis, the smell is juicy fruit, gum. You know the Wrigley's juicy fruit? I got to think about it. I was like, maybe that's that distinct taste. It tastes like pear, you know? Maybe juicy fruit is like pear flavored. Everybody's going to get some juicy fruit here in a little bit and test it out. Send me a message. But this isn't pear. Anyway, the metabolic acidosis is going to have the same signs and symptoms of the respiratory acidosis. It's our body trying to get rid of this buildup, right? So increased heart rate, increased respiratory rate, increased circulation. You got to move that blood through and try to get rid of it, right? Any questions about that?
Yeah, I get one of them.
What you got?
Well, when they're in the metabolic acidosis, why are they breathing fast?
The breathing fast again to try to increase their respiratory rate to get that blood to come in or to oxygenate that blood that they're passing through their lungs, through their pulmonary circulation to try to get rid of it. So if you breathe in one breath, and then we breathe, because you breathe in 20% oxygen, you breathe out typically like 19%. So you have a very small amount of expelled air with wastes on it. So if you increase your respiratory rate, if your body's telling, your pons controls the respiratory rate, which is in your brainstem. If your body notices that it's becoming more acidotic due to the autonomic nervous system, then it'll increase the respiratory rate to tell itself that it needs to breathe faster to try to get those couple percentages that have the overload of acids to try to breathe it off to get it off quicker. Does that make sense? Tipped over the whole computer stand. All right, so we've got this massive problem with somebody breathing fast with a high heart rate that smells like pear juice. How do we fix it? We have to incorporate the buffer system. The buffer system is great, not the Jimmy buffer system with margaritas, but we've got to figure out how to fix it. All right, let's see if I can make this bigger so we can all read it. All right, so 5 ways to achieve a proper pH balance. We talked about alcohol consumption and organ failure will increase it. If we have an increase of alkaline, we have certain compounds in our bodies that fall through decreased or increased elimination. Certain foods can fix this. Reduced acid consumption of foods, not drinking a lot of coffee, not drinking a lot of soda, not drinking a lot of alcohol, right? Have an alkaline diet. They say alkaline foods are the superfoods. Okay, we'll talk about the superfoods here in a second. You can actually drink baking soda water on a regular basis. Because it's not super duper alkaline, it's right there at the 8-9 level. It can help take our body out of an over alkaline state and help us be more basic. And consumption of superfoods, the alkaline foods, help prevent cancer cells from growing and also spreading. Okay, so if you have somebody that is precancerous, you have a precancerous condition, or you drink a lot of alcohol or battery acid or soda, you can actually drink baking soda water. It tastes absolutely horrible, but it works great. I had a friend of mine that had cancer, got rid of cancer, got cancer again, and he was drinking baking soda water because he was trying to keep his alkaline levels high. And I was like, why don't you just eat an avocado, man? He's like, I don't have time for that, I gotta get back to work. So every couple hours he'd be over there mixing up baking soda. He drank so much baking soda water, he was afraid his pH balance was gonna get out of whack. So he was doing ketone sticks. He was peeing into a cup and testing it with ketone sticks to make sure his alkalinity wasn't getting too high. Because increased alkalinity has its own effects, which starts to cause joint pain, stiffness. And then it can have the exact opposite effect of what you want it to do. So instead of making you feel better, it can actually start making you feel worse. It says reduce exposure to toxins. So just some types of drugs and pollutants can disturb your pH. Avoid consuming alcohol, caffeine, aspirin, carbonic, anhydrous inhibitors, and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So like your ibuprofens and stuff will help raise your pH. Aspirin obviously will raise your pH. And de-stress. So the best way to keep your pH balanced is alleviate all stress from your life, right? All right, do a little Musa there. Matthew McConaughey. All right. What did he call his car?
Melba toast.
Melba toast. That's right. In that movie, what was it?
Dazed and Confused.
He calls his car Melba toast. I was telling him how good Melba toast is with cottage cheese, and he was like, Melba toast. He's like, that's what he called his car.
Yeah.
All right. So bass, not this kind of bass. I love that kind of bass, but not this kind of bass. How are we doing on time?
You're at 17 minutes.
Let me pause it for a second.